organize these community events, and with the main objective to help the machine learning and data science community network with each other, get to know different people's backgrounds who are trying to break into data science. And we organize these Ask Me Anything sessions, events with industry experts in the field of machine learning and AI. Today we have Bhargav with us, Abhiram. He has a lot of experience as a data scientist, decision scientist in the industry, and right now recently moved to Amazon as a business intelligence engineer as well. Thank you so much, Bhargav,
Yeah. Thank you for
today
using.
being with us. And could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your story briefly? And then afterwards, maybe we can continue with like brief introductions as well.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thanks for having me here. As Semi mentioned, hey everyone, I'm Abhiram. Anything works for me. I'm a data scientist and have been in this industry for 7 years now. Previously, I was working in India and recently moved to UK to work at Amazon. I'm currently based out of London now, uh, as a business intelligence engineer, but it's also very similar role to data science, all under the data science umbrella. And I've also been with Abzvia for around 8 to 9 months now. I've been working with a lot of mentees and then helping them solve the different problems and then ensure that they have all the expertise needed. Um, over my course of like 7 years, I've worked in different industries: retail, FMCG, pharma for a bit, networking, and this gave me an opportunity to work on different problems. For example, in pharma, you'd see a lot of descriptive problems where you're trying to understand the customer behavior, and in FMCG, we try to understand how to forecast or how to ensure that the products are priced the right. And each industry has its own challenges, and as a data scientist, it's important for us to use different anything at our disposal to be able to answer the client questions. That's what's most important to data science. So yeah, fortunately, I've been able to work on all of these. And then coming to my academic background, I was studying. I did my bachelor's in electrical and electronics, where I realized that I didn't want to pursue that, and then I was actively looking for other fields. That's when I came to know about analytics, which was in a very nascent stage at that time when I graduated. Luckily, I got this opportunity at Mu Sigma, which I was able to convert to a full-time career. Yeah, so yeah, that's about me. And today I'm here to interact with you and answer any questions that you might have.
Awesome. Maybe, Bhargav, we can continue with the brief introductions so that you can have a much better idea about the backgrounds of
Yeah, definitely.
um, guys. I believe after Caitlin, we have Mirel. Mirel, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? I'll try to facilitate the conversation, and then we'll leave the words to you guys.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mirai. I've been, what can I say? I hold a PhD of science. I've been working for many years as a researcher in Africa, dealing with issues related to climate change, natural resource management, and so on. I moved here. I joined Springboard to empower my skill in data scientists. With data scientist tool, I've been working on many project regression, project classification, and so on. I recently joined Abzvia, where I have a really nice mentor, Shetra. We work together on different projects. That's all that I can say for myself. Thank you. Mhm.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Nice to see you today, Mirel, with us. I think we next is Wanshita. Wanshita, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, your background, your goals?
Yes. My name is Vanshita, but you can call me Van. I'm 20 years old and I'm located in Amsterdam as of currently. And I study artificial intelligence at FU, but currently I'm doing a sustainability minor and I'm also pursuing some courses in philosophy. Um, About me, currently have limited machine learning and deep learning experience, but I have done a lot of projects back in university and personal projects in AI, which focus on reinforcement learning. For instance, I taught Snake how to play itself with different feedbacks. So the best feedback, we would use that as a parameter to make the game better. And otherwise, in my free time, I'm just studying right now and trying to also complete this Apzvia program, which is super fun and interesting for me, which I think is like the best option and opportunity I have had in a long time.
Awesome. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
I believe we have next Matthew. Matthew, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everybody. I'm probably the newest to data science. I just made a career change back in September. Currently from Atlanta, Georgia, currently, but I just made a career change in like September, and I took this boot camp at General Assembly, and I went through the boot camp, and it was just awesome. The reason I got into data science is because originally my background is I'm a professional athlete. So I play professional basketball overseas and stuff like that. So for the past 4 or 5 years, that's what I was doing. But it was just time for me to find something else and something where I can be remote or just back in America and stuff like that. So I've always been big into data and stuff like that. So I have friends that is in the tech field, and they just recommended me to look into data science and stuff like that. So I did that, and then I did this boot camp, and I just loved every bit of learning, just machine learning, like I said, neural networks and everything like that. And it's just so cool to me. So now the boot camp just ended in December 16th. So I'm like a month out. So right now I'm just reviewing and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to learn more about AI. So this is definitely going to be helpful for me. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Fascinating. Nice to meet you, Matthew. Alexandra, you're next. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, I'm Alexandra. I was born in Portugal, but I've lived my whole life in Argentina, Buenos Aires. So I'm a biomedical engineer, and I decided to just change my professional course into a data science profile. It all started with my thesis project for engineering. That it was just the pandemic was starting, and I needed to choose a project that was 100% remote and that it didn't depend of any hospital. So I thought that it was an interesting thing to do a deep learning project, and that was my first step, and I loved the whole thing. So then I decided to take a data science course, and well, now eventually I got a job somewhere where I can develop myself in the data science world. And I decided to join Abzvia, particularly because I wanted to expand my on-hands projects, and I'm really liking it.
Amazing. Again, happy to have you with us, Alexandra. And thank you so much for the introduction. I believe we have next Manasa. Pardon me if I cannot pronounce your name, your names correctly. We have like so many people from different parts of the world.
It is Manasa. So yeah, you're more or less there. Yeah. So I am Manasa. So I did my batch. I mean, I'm born and brought up in India, so I did my bachelor's in information technology, and I worked in financial industry for 10 years. So working with like huge sets of data with the banks has grown my interest towards the data science, and I wanted to pursue a higher degree in data science as my major. So I recently joined in University of Colorado Boulder for my master's in data science. So I'm currently a student here. So yeah, more or less that's my intro. Yep.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Manasa. Usame, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you located? What is your background? What are you doing?
Hi everyone. My name is Usama Muhammadi. I'm from Pakistan, but currently I'm in UK. Mm, uh, I did masters last year in artificial intelligence. Currently, I'm with Apzvia. In addition to that, I have worked as a web developer for over 10 years so far. That's me. Currently, I'm applying for jobs as well.
Awesome. Nice to have you with us, Osama.
Yeah, too.
Uh, I think we have next Talardia. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Talardia?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we
everyone.
can hear you.
Okay. So I'm Taladja. I reside in France. So I joined the Abzvia program a few months ago, I think in August, and it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it. So I have a background. I'm a scientific background. So I'm a postdoctoral researcher here in France. And so I joined the program because I wanted to do more data science, either to transit fully into data science or have a kind of hybrid domain specific and also data science domain. And so, yeah, so I'm still in the program and it's going fine. I'm learning a lot data science domain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Talardia. Hector, you're next. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you located? What is your background?
Hi, my name is Hector. I'm from the Bronx in New York. I graduated with a master's degree in information systems with a concentration in data analytics. And during that time, I took a data mining course, and I was just absolutely blown away. And ever since, I've been trying to break into the data science field.
Awesome. Happy to have you with us today, Hector.
Thank you.
I think we have next Samuel. Samuel, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Samuel.
Okay, I'm Samuel. I'm from Nigeria, live in Nigeria. I started self exploring and self-learning data science shortly after my undergraduate studies. I have a major in geoscience, and ever since then I was interested in a bit of machine learning, computer vision, and natural language processing. So I did a lot of self learning on that through via courses and projects. Also, taking part in competitions on Kaggle and on Zindi Africa and all. After that, I had opportunity of having two internship as a data scientist, where I worked on some interesting projects. Currently, I'm seeking full-time data science positions, while also freelancing. I take part in certain data science projects. So it's just a opportunity to be here, and I'm glad to be here and be part of the community. Thank you.
Awesome. Happy to have you with us today, Samuel. Next, Yasser, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, Sami, and hello, everyone. My name's Yasser. I was born and raised in Algeria, graduated as an engineer in automation engineer back in 2013. Then later I had the opportunity and the chance to be selected for Erasmus Mundus scholarship to go to Italy. It was an amazing experience. Then later, back 2016 for another scholarship, in nanotechnology. Then later, when it comes to my career, I had immense, pleasure to join Accenture back in April 2018 as a collection specialist. It's FNA, so it's completely different. When I, developed myself in FNA, then later, I had, I wanted to expand my knowledge and to start, this data analysis job at Accenture, and learning and doing many researches on data science and data analysis. I decided, to study at Vistula University and being graduated last year as a data scientist. For the time being, I joined Accenture. I joined Apzvia back in July. To fill the, I would say, the experience gap that I have now, because the data analysis that we have is slightly different because it's related basically to our client in like in social media and all that stuff. So now I'm developing, my skills in machine learning, artificial intelligence, things that I really enjoy and I like, and it has been an amazing experience. Unfortunately, for the time being, I'm available for new jobs because the client has decided, to close Warsaw, because I'm living and working, in Accenture Warsaw. So I'm available for any potential opportunities in data science and artificial intelligence. Thank you so much.
Really happy to have you with us here at Apzvia, Yasser. Please, could you please schedule a call with me later this week, or the next week. We should help you as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I think last one, I believe, Pegu. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? If you can hear us, Pegu, Kem. Yeah, I think he's not audible at the moment. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Bhargav, you're on the stage. Guys, we have again Bhargav Abhiram with us today. You can ask any questions to him. Free format. Go ahead. Anything you're curious about.
Yeah, shoot away.
Who'd like to go first? Don't be scared.
Sorry, can I go first?
Yes,
okay,
please.
Cool. So I just have one specific question, because I just, lately I received, I got contacted by a recruiter, more related into data science, and they keep asking about Spark and different, I would say, tools and the AWS and all that stuff. And I just would like, to know if you have specific courses, or I would say programs that you have that we can eventually work on.
So is it specifically about Spark, or is it about AWS? Because those are slightly different things.
Exactly, because she asked about Spark, and I just watched a tutorial about it, and I learned about PySpark and Databricks and all that stuff, and she went like into snowflakes and many different things that I'm not aware of. So I just wanted to confirm this. And
all right. Well, from what I can gather, you're trying to understand what this ecosystem is, what AWS is, how PySpark and everything comes into picture. So I'll go with that perspective. So with a lot of data, it'll be very difficult to process. Or if, let's say, you want to run something in Python, it'll be very difficult to process because Python is very, very memory intensive. So that's when we use tools like Spark and Scala to be able to process all that huge information while still doing the analysis. So in order to learn these kind of things, there's a lot of tutorials available online. I think Spark, by example, is one good resource where you can actually go from if you look up any particular concept, you'll be able to find examples and how they're solved. That will help you understand what goes on in Spark. And if you are aware of any other data science language like Python or SQL, the concepts generally translate well into Spark as well. Spark is just a processing engine. PySpark is the language that's used on top of it. and you can run both Python and PySpark commands on that.
I
So
see.
yeah,
For the big
uh,
data, right? Because eventually here at Apzvia, we are enjoying, using on the daily basis, the coding language, which is,
mhm.
Python, a very powerful one. SQL. My mentor, advised me to search about SQL. Now I'm pretty confident that I have the necessary experience, to do many. Because I did it actually, different interviews, and it was like a live interview
Mhm.
specifically to SQL. And my mentor has this amazing idea. Told me just focus on SQL, and it was SQL. He
Yeah.
was right. So lastly, I was, as I informed you, they reached out to me and they kept asking about Spark and all this stuff, and I was like, this is kind of a big data and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
I couldn't when she switched it, to snowflakes and many other things. I lost, the thread. So she
Yeah. Yeah, these are all just tools and languages that help us process the data. As I mentioned, PySpark is some combination of Scala and then back in Spark, which will allow you to run different commands of on large amount of data. That's the key differentiator, because in small data you can just use Python and that should be sufficient. Snowflake is a flavor of SQL, which if you know SQL, you'll be able to run a lot of different queries on the larger data sets. Snowflake is very efficient in running up on-demand
I see.
resources. That's where Snowflake is useful.
I see. I see. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, can I go on?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have two questions for now.
Mhm.
One would be to you, and the other would be to the previous speaker. Okay, to you. Um, I think I realized that data science is quite diverse.
Mhm.
I was talking with someone recently, and she said she's a fashion data scientist, and that was new for me. So it seems you could apply data science to diverse backgrounds and diverse areas. That's what makes it more interesting. So, but I
Mm.
think it causes a problem where unlike maybe other fields where there is this particular stack, of these particular tools that are used general that are being generalized. But in data science, like the last speaker said, it's almost like at every point in time, there are tools that could be different. For example, even in terms of maybe cloud computing, you could have a
Mhm.
problem where a particular company is going with AWS, another company works with GCP, and just like that. So my question is to you, what do you think are like the basic stack of a data scientist? Like, okay, if I say I'm a data scientist, okay, these are the basic stack that I should have in terms
Mm.
of tools now. I know we
Yeah.
have the popular ones like Python, SQL, but
Mhm.
they're usually, like he said, when you go for interviews, sometimes you will get really embarrassed or so when when you know a particular tool and it does not suit the tool that that they actually use in that particular company or so. So
Yeah.
so how do so what would you say? So what would be a list of tools that you say, okay, if you're getting on with this science, these are the tools that I think you should know. So if there are any minor ones that should come into play, then you should be able to, okay, I could learn that maybe on the job or so. So that is what I would like to ask you. And to the previous speaker, I would really want to know what tools he used to learn SQL, because the challenge I have is I don't use SQL I don't use it, very often, in my tasks because, of course, like I said, some of my tasks are maybe geared toward machine learning, maybe, and because I don't get, but having, it, like I said, it's quite important because there could be a time where you could, make use of, and it's quite a very, very important tool, to use and to have. So I would like to know if you could share if it's resources online or courses that or whatever step he took to make him, that very confident in the use of and mastery of SQL. Those are my two questions for now. Thank you.
All right. Great. Thanks, Samuel, for asking. I'll go first and answer your question on what are the tools and technologies that you need when you're getting started. I would segregate data science into whenever you're working on Android, I'll divide it into three stages. First one is around the data extraction layer. where you can use SQL or any other language to essentially extract the data, transform it, or load into aggregate and load into your different databases. That's the first one. Once you have the data ready, that's when you go to the analysis part, where you try to understand the data, explore it. You try to look at the different trends, understand what goes on behind it, and then play around with it to understand, to just answer your question. So that's the second analysis layer. And finally, you will have to, once you got to play around with the data, you need to present that back. You need to make a decision. So you have to make some visual out of it, or maybe write some document. So whatever. What the final part is the output layer. So there's different tools which will help us in different layers. I'll say for the first one, it would always be SQL, which is like the basic of all. Few specific roles might require something else, but then I would say get started with SQL, which is like the most important part. In the second one, with the analysis layer, we have different languages. R used to be very popular a few years ago. In banking, SAS used to be popular. But right now, if you have to ask me, go with Python. That's the safest, and that's what all the companies are looking for. So I would say Python would be the next one. And then finally, in the presentation part, where you need to either visualize your output, create dashboards, or you have to make sure that the output is easily consumed. So that's when you have to look at different dashboarding tools, I'd say. Something like Tableau, where you can create like different dashboards to visualize your charts, or QuickSight or Excel. There's just a lot of tools, but visualization is the layer is the final one, I would say you might want to be aware of. Uh, those will require some licenses, so that'll be again extra, but then you can also do a lot of visualization using Plotly in Python or any other language. Also, Excel is always there. You can create a lot of interactive and visual dashboards using Excel. So I'd say pick one that you can in each of these three different layers, and then that should be enough for you to get started in data science. A lot of organizations require some specific skills, but they look for one of each in each of these layers. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great.
I think, yeah, sir, the next question was for you
Sure.
regarding SQL.
Sure. Actually, that was a very good question because, as I informed you before, I just got, 2 interviews with SQL. And the first one, it was like just a 90% of score, and the second one, 95%, the total score, because it was shared. It was a live interview. So I'm not confident, but I just, was so happy because I just did a few, I would say, self-study and just a few tutorials, and I just had, MySQL, for example, and I started, from there. And is does this answer your question?
Okay. Okay, I think if I understand from what you said, I think it's not just about a specific resource. I think it's more about the consistency in the study, right?
Yeah, it is. It is actually, the most important thing is to, to be focused and, to watch many tutorials and to practice, 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 practice. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, you'll definitely need a lot of practice to learn any particular language.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Finally, sorry. Finally, I forgot to add the other time. To our speaker, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are the most important skill set of a data scientist? Like, what do you think a data scientist like the most important skills that they should have? Of course, I know different jobs used to have different particular skill set that But what do you think are the most important skill set that the data scientists should naturally have when they're working with data or projects?
Yeah. I'll answer because I've seen this in my industry and come to learn this. You'd be surprised to learn that it's not any particular modeling technique, but rather it's the art of storytelling. So data science is all about trying to make sense of data and help take decisions from that. So it's always important that no matter what kind of technique or what problem you choose, it's important to be able to interpret the data and then makes decisions out of it. So in my opinion, the biggest skill that you need to have is you need to be able to look at the data and then start asking questions. Why is this way? Can there be a reason behind it? And how do you make sure that this is easily interpretable by the business? For example, you might understand some technical concept, but whereas the person that you're working with who will actually make decisions might not be able to understand all of it. So you need to be able to explain what you know in a very simple way. That's always the biggest blocker I've seen, where I build some model. Now I have to go to the client and say that, hey, we are confident with this, and you need to set the price of this product to this level because our model tells so. They might question you as to why. And then you need to be able to convince them that we have done a lot of different testing, ensure that our models are robust. So, but then each problem has their own challenges. But in my opinion, if you ask me, it's about how do you interpret the data and how do you make decision and make sense out of it. It's not about a particular language, or it's not about a particular advanced technique. It's about interpreting it.
I quite agree. But this sounds interesting. It looks like this requires a lot of domain knowledge, don't you think?
It's not about domain knowledge. It's about being inquisitive. You need to be asking different questions. You need to have different hypotheses. You need to be able to think out of the box to be able to come up with this. Few things will definitely require domain knowledge. That's where you'll be working with a lot of domain experts. For example, right now I don't have knowledge on all of the products, but then there'll always be certain experts in the business where I can reach out and then ask them the questions. So you need to develop the habit of asking a lot of questions to be able to make sense of it and then get the information that you want. So domain should never be a blocker for you. There will always be people who can help you in that.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I believe we have India ask wants to ask some question.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So, my question is that for people who are approaching data science, as a new domain, it would be pretty easy to know what they have to start with. But what about people who are switching domains? So I, as a software developer, already have Python experience, SQL experience, but Python in software development is obviously different from using Python in data science, because there are a lot of because there it's just an object-oriented programming, but here it's different. So I need to not work on the language, but actually the implementation part of it. So how would you suggest someone like me, who is from a different domain, like software development, make a smooth transition into data science? So how do we go about building our skills?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you're a software developer, you already have an advantage that you know what the working of the language is like. But then obviously data science has its own niche where Python, you can use it in multiple ways. I would say if you're starting with data science, try to understand what are the different concepts that goes on with any language. For example, let's take SQL and then let's take Python. Both of them have very similar functionalities. SQL, you can get the data, filter the data, try to join, try to apply some string functions, transform. You can do a lot of different aspects. If you understand what these different concepts are, for example, merges, you can learn the same in Python as well, because no matter what language you choose, these concepts will remain the same. So even in Python, you can look up pandas, which will essentially enable you to do all of the same things that you've learned in SQL. So there's a lot of introductory courses which will help you get started with these basics. Obviously, when you search for Python for data science, it will be very different from what have you learned for Python for scripting, I'd say. So if you look at any resources which are specific to data science, they'll cover you very similar concepts regardless of which language it is. So that way you'll be able to easily transfer from one language to another language, which are required in data science.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick follow-up question. When you told about using SQL and Python similarly with same applications, so how would it how would one go about it when it comes to machine learning, or like classification, or we do apply all those even in data science, which is especially some part of AI as well, like machine learning and AI, like let's say deep learning.
Mhm.
So we do all that, and we do have libraries for that. So if I am looking to be a data scientist, should I focus more on machine learning, or should I focus more on data extraction, data cleansing, and stuff like that?
You should be at a stage where neither of them pose a challenge. For example, if you're being challenged because let's say you want to build a model. Now data extraction is also a very important aspect because you'll be spending a lot of time cleaning the data, trying to get to the right format. And if you feel like you're facing difficulties doing that, I say focus on data transformation part, because you need to be able to do the right thing in order to be able to get the data. So you should never face any problem, but rather if you can find and search and come up with a solution, that's good. That's a stage where you should be at. Similarly, when you're trying to solve a problem, if you're thinking that you don't know about the modeling concept, that's where you need to be focusing on. So if I have to summarize this, you should be able to do a bit of everything in order to be able to solve the problem and answer the final problem at hand. So if you're comfortable with SQL and Python and you know that you're not able to solve the question, which is like classification problem, then maybe look up what are the different models available: XGBoost, GBMs, random forest, logic regression. There's a lot of modeling techniques that will enable you to solve the question. So start understanding what are the different aspects available and then go about it. Um, Tackle one area at a time. So you have the data extraction part, you have the analysis part, and then you have the final presentation part. And that I would say that would help you get started in narrowing the tools that you need to find.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi. If no one else is asking, I would like to go then.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah. Okay. So I am currently applying for jobs in as a data scientist and machine learning engineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, one of the issue that I am facing right now is how should I prepare for the interviews? I haven't gotten any, but I just wanted to, every job description has some requirements that I don't have, and it's understandable. I won't know everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I just wanted to know how should I find things that are similar. Like let's say for data science, these technologies or these skills are absolute, that I need to have them to
Mm-hmm.
qualify for any data science role or any machine learning engineer role. So could you put some light on that? What skill that I should know, what things that I should know in terms of, let's say, algorithms, machine learning algorithms or deep learning knowledge? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what are these things that I should know that will help me if there are some question asked?
Yeah, sure, sure. Before answering your question, I'll just give a brief idea on what are the different fields in data science, I'd say, because data science is an umbrella term and we have a lot of specializations in it. So first, you're mentioning about machine learning engineers. To give you an idea on what a machine learning engineer does, they try to make sure that the models that a data scientist builds are ready to be pushed to production. They maintain them, ensure that the data is being passed, and all the pipelines are set up. So that's a machine learning engineer. They try to ensure that all the ecosystem works well. Uh, then we have data scientists who build the different models, who try to answer different questions, who try to make sure whenever there's any change that is required, they try to come in and then try to solve the problem. I'm just trying to be very vague about it so that it's still reasonably understandable. But the data scientist is in some organization specifically, they specialize in models. Uh, then we have the business analysts who generally work on reporting or dashboarding. For example, a business wants to understand what goes on in their particular organization, how are the customers responding, and then what are the sales looking like. So you build different visualizations to be able to paint a picture and then help understand the current structure. That's a business analyst. And then you finally have the data engineer whose role is to make sure that all the data pipelines, for example, let's say there's a huge database, the data has to come from somewhere. and then that data might not be usable as is, so it has to be transformed to a different usable format so that other teams can make use of it. So the data engineer's role is to make sure that all the different um, tables are maintained properly, they have the right kind of schema, they're partitioned well, all the best practices are maintained. So we have different profiles under data science, and it's when you're applying for a job, you might come across one of these that I mentioned. So, and each of the skill set, not I would say in general, all of them are similar. They all deal with data using different tools available, but then the specialization that requires in one role would be slightly different from the other role. For example, for a machine learning engineer, it's important to understand how do you push different things to prod. You need a lot of Git knowledge. You need to know the best practices on maintaining them, and then you need to be able to handle big data. PySpark might be important in that. Whereas for a data scientist, you need to be able to understand the modeling concepts and then understand the different techniques that are available. For a reporting business analyst, you need to understand the different visualization techniques. So your Excel, Tableau, QuickSight, all of these visualization tools will come to be very important. I'm only saying what's different, but for all of these, you need to be able to work with data regardless of which role it is. And then finally, we have the data engineers who work a lot on big data sets. So SQL is going to be extremely important, and then any other tool that supports them. You need to be able to schedule the jobs. You need to be able to ensure that data compliance checks are in place. So there's a lot of things, but then in the end, you're all dealing with data, and then the skill set required for each of them will be very slightly different, not very different. As a beginner, I wouldn't expect companies to be expecting you to know everything, but rather can you think when let's say you are asked a question, can you think and then come up with an idea for that? That's what companies will look for when you're applying as a new beginner. Does that help with your question?
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. What do we have next?
One more question.
Yeah.
If I come across a job description that
Mhm.
includes, let's say, something about modeling, right, and something about visualization and ETL as well.
Mm,
So, how should I respond to it? Because the title says job analyst
mm,
slash data scientist,
yeah.
and how should I tackle that? Because obviously that is involving data engineer role as well.
Hmm. So data scientists, as I said, it's like an umbrella term. You can an analyst can work on different aspects. You can work on I've been called a data scientist, but I've worked on all of these aspects. I've worked on data engineering, I've worked on machine learning, I've worked on these things. But then the important thing for you to understand is what are the different requirements. So does it talk a lot about data models where you need to maintain the databases? Does it talk about liaising with the stakeholders and understand what the challenges are? That would mean that you're going to be working on ad hoc problems or consulting related problems, and or maybe does it talk about pushing things to prod? So uh, when you're looking at these things, it's important for you to see which one they're talking about specifically and then be prepared for those kind of things. Again, as I mentioned, no company would be expecting you to know everything as a fresher. They would rather look for someone who knows about data, can think critically, and then uncover the trends in the data. And then finally, if there's anything else that you know, that'll be like a added bonus. Whereas some companies would be very specific. I'm not sure if they'll be looking for a entry kind of position for that though. So yeah.
I understand. Thank you. So, in terms of interview preparation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm applying for simply, let's say, uh, data scientist job. I have to deal with modeling,
Mm,
right? So, if I narrow it down to this level. Like I'm only be going to get some data set, already prepared data set, let's say a structured data set in Excel sheet or something like that, and I will just do some work on it, use some models and evaluations, and find a model that works better for this data, and some visualization, some sort of decision making process. So if a job concerns only with these tasks, so how would I prepare for this? What should I know before going into the interview?
I would say your problems with Abzvia would help a lot, because let's say you're working on a particular data set. As I mentioned earlier, it's important for you to be able to think critically and then answer the question at hand. Each problem comes with a question which says, let's say, why are my customers churning? Then, rather than just predicting the customers churning, you need to be able to tell them why they are churning. So that is the most important aspect of data science, to be able to look into the data and then understand what could be going on behind it. So you need to try different problem statements that you can find and then see how they're solved. Are they using a modeling technique, or are they using a descriptive data to answer the question, or is it just simple visualization? So uh, learn a little bit more about how do you solve a problem in general. That should be the one. That should be the required skill to be able to crack that interview. Aside from the soft skills are going to be extremely important, because that's what will make sure that the work that you do is in the right place. Uh, Whereas coming to data science, you need to be able to come up with an approach to solve the problem rather than writing the code to do that. Because you can search for code online and you can come up with multiple resources, but rather the approach is always going to be the important aspect coming to this.
I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I encourage you to read up, try to see the different problems. Abzvia has a lot of good problems. You can search a lot of other resources as well, which will help you see how they've been solved in the past.
Yeah. With Apzvia, I'm on 6th project right now. So I've done, yes. But in terms of that exposure, I had exposure before as well to different models, like both deep learning and machine learning models. So in that, I just is maybe pre-interview jitters or something like that, because haven't had an interview for data science before. So I just
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
get
once you
confused.
start
What should I
interviewing,
know?
yeah, I'm pretty sure once you
Yeah.
start interviewing, you'll find very similar questions. But soft skills are going to be the most important part.
And like communication and presentation, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you very much.
Nice.
It's okay if I ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, I think someone raised their hand.
I think you can go ahead.
Yes, you can go ahead. Then later we'll.
Yeah.
So I'm transitioning from academia, or hoping to transition from academia into data science. And I've done a fair amount of training with Python and machine learning and kind of all the data processing and all that stuff.
Okay.
One of the things I've noticed, though, is that my cloud computing kind of background is not as strong. It's just I haven't had a lot of opportunities to work on cloud computing. And I've noticed that in a lot of interviews I've had, I've gotten past the data science part. And they've said that I've spoken to some of the recruiters, and they've said that the lack of cloud computing was kind of the main reason why I wasn't shortlisted, not the inability to do the data science part. So I was curious if you had any advice on kind of good ways to get experience cloud computing if you're trying to transition, or if there are any good resources for learning about it.
That's a little surprising, considering that they want someone with experience in that domain. Probably
it was also it was also Amazon that said this to me. So
yeah. So there are different profiles even at Amazon. There's data science science profile, there's a business intelligence profile, which is the analyst role that I mentioned. There's data engineer profile, there's cloud computing. There's just a lot of different profiles. It depends on what you've applied for. And probably that role, maybe in the requirements, I would have mentioned that you need cloud computing experience. Amazon offers AWS certification, which should be like a good resource to, I mean, it's a proper certification. So you have to go through the training and then pass that. That I would assume is the most used in the industry. Then Microsoft also offers Azure certification. Similarly, I'm not sure, but Google also offers their own certification. Doing that will allow you to be able to specialize in those aspects. But if you ask me, I've learned all of these on the job. I haven't seen, if you look at any typical analyst profile, I'm going to use analyst and data science as interchangeable going forward. But if you look at any of these profiles, I'm pretty sure no one will be specifically requiring you to know these cloud computing software unless you're applying for a specialized role.
So I thought that too. I've spoken to many recruiters, and in essence, at least what I've been told, I can only speak to what I've heard, was that basically a couple of years ago, not that long ago, cloud computing was sort of a more nice to have, and they were happy to sort of let you learn it on the job. Whereas they've said in the past year to 2 years, it's gone from a nice to have to a must to have. So a lot of times, and I can only speak to what the recruiters and the hiring managers have told me, is that they've, in essence, kind of upped the ante in saying that unless you have this, the modeling stuff, and basically what they've been told is because of things like SciPy and scikit-learn, building the models and testing the models isn't really that much work anymore, right? You can just get the Python library, change the variables, change the arguments. What they're really more concerned about is, can you actually facilitate deployment nowadays? And that was kind of, I'd be curious to know, kind of, you're in it, right? But you just said, in essence, what they told me, right? You learned it on the job. That was okay. I'm assuming based on your profile, it said 7 years ago, you kind of were, that was it. But now that's kind of an expectation that you come fully equipped day one.
Yeah. Even at Amazon, when I was applying for this job, that was not an expectation at all, because the role that I applied is business intelligence engineer, and that doesn't require any specific expertise. I'm pretty sure even at my previous organization, they don't require that. They recruited in Australia, UK, and in India as well. I'm pretty sure it's a specific requirement for the role. I don't think it's a requirement for any data scientist in general.
Okay.
Maybe you can expand your search a little bit and then try other roles as well. Otherwise, as I mentioned, AWS, GCP, and then Azure, they offer their own certification, which will allow you to learn their specific ones. And that, I think, that will give you a proper certification, which will be useful in a lot of different places.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for from the last question. My question is also a little bit close to that, but I have a small question before that. What is the difference between your type of position, I mean the business intelligence and the data analyst position?
I would say they're interchangeable. Each organization calls them with different names.
Okay.
Business intelligence engineer and business analyst are the same.
Okay, all right. And then my second question was, what is the importance of maybe understanding this interface between those type of position like data analyst, data engineer, data machine learning engineer? I mean, during, for instance, an interview or when you apply for a position, what is the importance of understanding this, the interface between those positions, so that maybe if you are being interviewed by, I don't know, maybe by a machine learning engineer for maybe for a data science position, so that you can a little bit talk in the way that you connect a little bit to what that person is doing, so that maybe it can be something that is interesting for him. He may be more interested in the fact that you understand a little bit the connection between what you will be doing and what he also is doing. So that I wanted to understand the importance of understanding that interface between the different positions.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be happy to answer that. So let's take a typical modeling process. Okay. So you need to get the data from somewhere, and that data has to be prepared by someone. That's where the data engineers come into picture. They are the ones who get the data, manage it, and then make sure that it's available at some place. They take care that everything is running and then everything is set up. That's the data engineer. Then you have the data scientists who takes this data, tries to model it or apply anything that they want to do, and then try to come with the final model. They're responsible for making changes, ensuring that all the models are robust, and other stuff as well. Then we have the machine learning engineer who are responsible for ensuring the models are productionalized, all the models run very efficiently. They're responsible for making sure the runtimes are low, all the interfaces and everything are maintained properly. One thing that I haven't touched in this process is the reporting part, which can kind of jump from one place to other place. But in general, it's trying to gather data rather than applying a modeling technique. You try to build dashboards and then publish that somewhere. So each role has their own specific tasks, and then they come at different places. So everyone works together. I work with data engineers. I work with machine learning engineers, depending upon what the specialization of the organization is, and we all ensure that the project is taken from the start to finish. And depending upon the size of the data and size of the organization, they can all be one role. I've done that, or it can be multiple specialized roles, which is what I'm doing currently, specializing in one aspect. So yeah, it's important for you to understand what the different roles are before you start interviewing. I mean, at least while interviewing, you should be aware that this is a data engineer role, or this is a data scientist role, or whatever that role is.
Okay. So as maybe a business intelligence position, at which step do you maybe interact with maybe the data scientist to maybe if there are something that you rather want him to show more, some or some maybe some type of model or some type of algorithm, maybe not algorithm, maybe some visualization, specific visualization that you want him to focus more on. Is at which step do you is it after you finish building the models, or which part of his?
It could be after finishing the model, where let's say I will a model which require inputs from users. It takes input from users and change all the visualizations or output different things. Then a business analyst can come in and build those dashboards. Or it could be, or a product doesn't even require modeling. You can just take the data, clean it, make sense of it, and then build different visualizations and then build a dashboard. It can come at any different stage depending upon the business requirements. So yeah, it's ultimately you're trying to answer the question rather than you stick to a specific technique. Whatever that requires, you might want to come in and then do that.
All right. Thank you. Because when you have never actually had experience in working this field, you don't really. If it was in a research domain, maybe I know. Okay, this person is doing this, and then yeah, we are interacting at this point. I will go and ask for data, and I will do this and that. But yeah, it's difficult from outside of the box to understand how things are.
Yeah. Again,
Right.
the points that I mentioned are in specialized organizations which are big like Amazon will have very specific roles. Whereas if you go to other organizations, pretty sure you'll be doing a lot of things on your own.
All
So
right.
it can be a mix up of different things.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
I think we can start taking last questions.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? Hey.
Me. Okay, if there is nobody, I have a small question again. So for those who are just in the how do you call it, beginners, let's say, in data science, in this situation where you have different specifics for each of these type of role, does it make sense to focus more on, let's say, position where it is let's say purely data science, so that I mean, because sometimes you don't know how maybe the prod level from the role of the machine learning engineer, you don't know too much deep into that, but at least for the data science part of building the model and exploring the data, building the model, maybe we are more with all these practicals that we are doing with the program, we are more in depth somehow in it. Does it make sense to focus more on this type of roles, or it doesn't really matter?
You should know the basics of everything, I'd say. Because at an entry level, you're expected to learn on the job and then contribute as you go. For example, rather than starting from scratch, you could know how the database structure works. Like, for example, what is a star schema, snowflake schema, and what are the best practices to maintain data. That's something you will learn more, but then you should be aware of all the different concepts at least. Similarly, you need to be able to understand the different languages that are at disposal. uh, Rather than you don't have to have the working knowledge of it, you can always pick up on the go. But let's say you learn Python. If you want to learn PySpark, I'd say it's a very easy transition because you've already learned the concepts. Learning the other syntax would be very easy, I'd say. It won't be that difficult to pick up on that. And then similarly, even with visualization, if you understand something, you'll be able to translate that. So try to be aware of all of these things so that you know which one to pick up when going for interview. And you can always ask the interviewers to see if it's going to be a technical interview or if it's going to be like a generalist, and then prepare accordingly for those.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No worries.
All right. I believe you can as well connect with Bhargav through if you'd like to continue the conversation. To start with, thank you so much, Bhargav, for having this Ask Me Anything session with us. And I would like to thank all of you guys for making this possible. But more importantly, I would like to extend this gratitude to our team, Apzvia team, for organizing this event, Zeynep, Aisha, and Berfe. Thank you so much, guys. Please keep in touch and follow Apzvia for the following events, and have a good rest of your days.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting me. And then, yeah, the team is always fantastic. It's nice to see everyone. So,
yeah,
I had a wonderful time interacting with everyone. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you very much for everything. We really appreciate it.